Howdy freeze dryers, did you know that less than 10% of Americans get the recommended daily dose of vegetables? Come on America, 10%? After today's video, you're gonna have no excuse not to get your recommended daily amount of greens and vegetables. Before I had a freeze dryer, I was in that statistic as well, but it's so easy, and it's so easy to sneak some greens in here and there with freeze-dried greens and vegetables powder. We're gonna powder some greens today. Today we're doing spinach, then we're gonna capsulate it as well. So let's get started on some freeze-dried greens. So we can learn a couple of important things today, but really what I want to gain out of today's video is if we capsulate this, I want to know how much of this bag right here you're getting per capsule and how many capsules you need to get a good amount of greens. I'm doing fresh spinach today. You can do all kinds of different greens. I like spinach just because it's just a little more versatile for me. These are 10-ounce bags, so the first thing I'm gonna do is just take one 10-ounce bag and I'm gonna blend it in the Vitamix. I'm gonna add just a minimal amount of water, because the more water you're putting in here, the more you're gonna have to take out with the freeze drying process. It's actually gonna take a little longer. I have found if you put the water in first, I'm putting in half a cup right now, before you put in some of the contents, then it will actually require less water overall. So I'll just throw a little bit of spinach in there and then I'll blend up what I have and get it into a paste, and that'll actually make it easier for the rest of it to blend up. And just do a handful at a time, that'll make it a little easier, and you'll have to add a little bit less water. So something I love about this process is you can take 7 cups of fresh spinach and it'll turn into less than 3 cups of spinach liquid. So you're already making a concentrated liquid, and then when we freeze dry it, it's really gonna take that up a notch. Okay, now I've done this twice, and you're not gonna want to fully fill your trays all the way up to the brim because it will take quite a bit longer. This is about 6 cups of liquid, maybe 5 to 6 cups with a double batch. And then for all this difficult stuff that's left in here, I just put a little bit more water in here and then just run the blender for a little bit just to get all the stuff that's left over. So as a reference, I'm using half a cup for 10 ounces and then another half a cup for the second 10 ounces. And then just to get the extra out here, I'm using another half cup. So 1.5 cups of water total. So more or less, we've taken 14 cups of spinach and we've turned it into about 5 to maybe 6 cups of spinach liquid. If you have to use a little bit more liquid, it's really not that big a deal. It's just gonna take a little bit longer for your cycle. What I'm most interested in finding out today is what this is going to turn into as far as powder. So once this powders, it's gonna be quite a bit less powder than 5 cups, I would imagine. It'll also be interesting to see how much each of those capsules will hold in terms of how much fresh spinach you would have to eat for 1 capsule. I'm putting this spinach liquid onto pre-cut parchment paper from Freeze Drying Supplies. I like to use pre-cut parchment because once things are freeze-dried, even though it's soggy when you pour it on, once it's freeze-dried, it just pulls out really nice and easy. You can also kind of use it as a funnel. I'm also going to put dividers in. That's gonna make our measurement at the end a lot easier. And then I'll put some stackers on as well, because we're gonna pre-freeze all of this liquid. Anytime you use liquid, and really just anything, in my opinion, if you pre-freeze, you're going to benefit in the long term. And I'm gonna repeat this until I run out of spinach. We're gonna pre-freeze it, then we'll go to the freeze dryer and start this freeze drying process. All right, well, if you're a gardener and you have lots of extra greens at certain times of the year, or if you're a prepper and you're trying to just stack away as much nutrition as you can, I just fit of greens on 2 small freeze dryer trays. That's pretty crazy. I'm only gonna do 2 trays. That's really all I had enough for. This recipe will be added to the freeze drying cookbook. There are over 300 recipes on the freeze drying cookbook now. If you don't want to be a member of the freezedryingcookbook.com, we have a volume 1, now a volume 2, as well as the freeze drying handbook available at www.freezedryingsupplies.com. If you like what we do here on Live Life Simple, make sure you subscribe if you have not already. And while you're there, click that bell. The bell will send you a notification every time we release a new video. If you'd like to be a part of our freeze drying community, you can do that by going to Facebook or MeWe and searching Retired at 40's freeze drying group, or you can find a link to those groups down in the description of this video. And we're using Harvest Right freeze dryers. We have been using these for the past 6 years. We love Harvest Right freeze dryers. If you want to see pricing or specs, or you're interested in purchasing a Harvest Right freeze dryer, please use our affiliate link down in the description. That helps this channel greatly. It helps us bring you new content. It also helps us do giveaways in all of our groups and keeps our community growing and thriving. These freeze-dried greens should be done in probably 18 to 20 hours, and I will see you when those are done. I let these go for 22 hours. I just wanted to make sure that they were fully done. Sometimes freeze-dried liquids can be a little tricky because the top will look done and it's not done down under it. What I want to do is take one of these sections right here. This is 1/32 of a set. One section would be 1/32. We'll figure out how much of the 14 cups that we started with that is. We'll put them into capsules, and that way we can equate how many greens, how much of the greens you're getting in one capsule. So what I ended up with was one of these sections ended up being 3 teaspoons of greens powder. And I'll put my equation of what that equates to from all the way from fresh to the liquid to the powder. So here's my first tray of powder. We're gonna just go into a mason jar with this. Now I'll process the second tray. Here is the second tray. It looks like we're gonna end up with about 4 cups of powder. So we went from 28 cups of fresh spinach into 4 cups of powder. I'm gonna go ahead and vacuum seal this mason jar because I'm not sure when I'm gonna get to actually capsuling this or capsuling all of it. So I set it to accomplish a handful of things when making this video. First, I obviously wanted to show you how to freeze dry greens and just kind of another use for your freeze dryer. But I also want people to eat their greens. This is a super easy way to get your greens in, mainly because you can just sprinkle them on top of something instead of eating a whole head of broccoli or cauliflower or whatever. This is also an amazing way to store greens because you can get so much into a compact jar or a bag. And it's also a good way if you have a bunch of greens in your garden or just getting bad in your refrigerator or whatever, just throw them in the freeze dryer. And this is amazing nutrition that doesn't take up much room. And the last thing I wanted to do was get a calculation of how many of these capsules it would take to equal out 1 serving of vegetables. That way, if you just wanted to take, a handful of capsules or whatever, you could get your 1 serving of vegetables that you're required to get every single day. But I quickly realized that it's gonna take a whole lot of capsules because even compacting these down with the capsule maker, that I figured out that 3 teaspoons, which is one of our sections in the dividers, that's what 3 teaspoons gives you, which is 6 capsules. To get the recommended daily amount, which is gonna be 5 to 6 tablespoons of our powder, you're gonna have to take a lot of these capsules, probably 30 of them or something like that. It would be much, much easier just to sprinkle this in a smoothie, or just you can bake with it. You can sneak these greens into all kinds of stuff and it actually loses a lot of its greens flavor. So it's kind of just a neutral flavor if you add it onto things. Although it would take a lot of these capsules, that's better than nothing, even if you could sneak a few of these into your daily routine or whatever. But I think the better alternative is just to, next time you're cooking or baking or whatever, just throw a little, a few tablespoons of this in, and you're gonna get at least part of your greens that are recommended every day into your diet. And if you're a prepper or a homesteader, gardener, whatever, this is a super easy way to pack a whole lot of nutrition in a small space, so keep that in mind. I would probably stockpile this very quickly. It's also a pretty inexpensive way to do it. I hope you found today's video helpful. If you did, let us know, please, by clicking the thumbs up button. In the meantime, remember to live life simple. We'll catch you next week.